It's funny how the subject matter's changed since this summer, but not the subject heading. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball. I also offer daily shots on the other two teams in town that I cover, the Penguins and the Pirates. Hope you'll check those out as well. Steelers versus Browns, Sunday, 1:02 p.m. kickoff, Acrisure Stadium, and there is no clue who will be WR2, just like there wasn't a clue for, well, how many months now? Going back to the Deontay Johnson trade, right? Because right now, if the main question isn't, how's Calvin Austin doing, then it's, where are they hiding Mike Williams and why? Well, beginning with the former, Austin was out there yesterday in practice. He participated. There's been no formal word that he's been cleared of the concussion protocol. But if he's out there running around catching footballs, that can only be a good sign, an encouraging sign, if not necessarily that he'll play Sunday, that he'll play at some point soon thereafter. But if he doesn't, WR2 then comes down to a question of Williams' readiness or Mike Tomlin and staff's perception of his readiness. Now, I'm going to guess that the reason that this issue has struck or seemingly struck a collective nerve within the nation, it's that Roman Wilson also was a thing. Everyone wanted Wilson to be Puka Nacua, or at least a contributor, at least somebody within the offense. And Wilson would just kind of go through practices. He would suit up. He would get 15 or 16 snaps or whatever, and then just not be seen or heard. So along comes Williams. He gets in for one snap, one target in Landover, and, wins the game on a dramatic 32-yard touchdown. And then just, ceases to exist, even though he suits up for the 3 games that follow. Now, that one's tougher to answer because that one comes down to how coaches analyze what he's getting done in practice. It's not, as it was with Roman Wilson, an issue of, is he healthy enough? Is he going to have another setback? Kind of like the injury that he had in training camp and then another one into the early part of the regular season. And the best I can do for any kind of clarity here is to play this Tomlin clip from Tuesday when he was asked about how Williams is coming along.
It's going to happen. It's simply a matter of time. I was really encouraged by the playmaking that he made during the week in preparation for the game. And oftentimes when you're making plays in preparation, it ultimately shows up in play. And so I don't think any of us are pushing the panic button in that regard. I think all of us are just, anxiously awaiting what we're looking at day to day to turn up with a higher level of consistency in stadium in terms of the opportunity.
Now, I'm going to restate the last part of that. I think we're all of us just anxiously awaiting what we're looking at day to day to turn up with a higher level of consistency in stadium. I'm going to give this one a shot, okay? Because even when Austin went down in Cincinnati, he was replaced not by Williams, but by Ben Skoranek. And Skoranek's out there for one thing, and we saw it because he did it well, and that's to block. Skoranek's shown that he can catch a ball here or there, whatever. I'm not knocking him. It's just he's not anywhere near what Williams is in terms of pedigree or achievement. But when Williams goes out there, reading this quote again, they want to see things day to day that turn up with a higher level of consistency in stadium. It's blocking. He's talking about blocking. He's talking about the Steelers overall, offensively, demanding that everybody blocks. I was convinced way back when Deontay was traded that was a case of Arthur Smith looking at what Deontay did last year as a blocker, which of course was just disastrous, even on those occasions when he was trying, and those were rare, and saying, I'm sorry, Coach Tomlin, I can't work with that. And then they say, all right, let's see who wants him. Oh, hey, look, Carolina is ready to give us a really good starting corner in exchange for him. I liked the trade at the time, said so, but also stated, and haven't exactly been wrong about this, that you were going to have to go get somebody else. And they're still there. They're still there. Now, of course, all of this can become a moot point. All of this can be as simple as seeing Cal run out onto the field Sunday against the Browns. But I don't think so. I don't think so. Cal's not a big dude, all right? And I'm being generous when I say that. When Cal gets hit, he really, really gets hit. That doesn't make him injury prone or whatever other derisive terminology there might be for that. It just means he's not a big dude. Those hits are going to have a more seismic impact on him because he's not a big dude. So the conclusion that I'll reach here, and maybe a little bit recklessly, maybe a little bit too much on speculating or whatever, but the conclusion that I'll reach here is that whatever it is that has to occur between the Steelers coaches and Williams, especially if it's something as routine as blocking, had better get sorted out sooner rather than later. When we come back, J1Q. This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar. Today's J1Q comes from Vic, who says, hey, DK, do you think the Steelers can get Russell Wilson to sign a 3-year, $90 million contract, but pay him the vet minimum for 2025 since he's still on the Denver books for that year, and then pay him the bulk of that $90 million contract in 2026 and 2027? With respect here, Vic, I'm going to make a factual correction to what you're bringing up here. Denver is on the hook for what's known as dead cap money in 2025. They're not paying any of Russ's contract. Russ is a free agent after this season, period. So whatever contract he signs next, that's going to be the people who are paying him. Dead cap and all that other stuff, that's related only to how a team has or doesn't have cap space, meaning what it is that they are or aren't allowed to spend. Putting this in the simplest possible terms, Russ is a free agent this coming offseason. Justin Fields is a free agent this coming offseason. And taking this further, because it seemed like your interest here is in saving cap space in 2025. I'm not Omar Khan when it comes to this sort of thing, but I do know that the Steelers have the second most cap space projected in the National Football League for 2025, which kind of makes sense because they're not paying either of their two current quarterbacks hardly anything above NFL vet minimum. So insane as this might sound, if you're going to pay Russ $30, you'd have no real issue paying that next season. And if you want to take this discussion all the way out, Vic, what you can do here is weigh a couple of things that I think will be more influential factors in this. Number one, Russ has said out loud that he intends to play in the NFL into his 40s. Now, he just turned 36. So it's probably going to be a little easier for him to say that now than it would be in 3 or 4 years. But nonetheless, that's what's going on in his head. Two, if you look around the NFL and you see other quarterbacks at Russ's age, I'm not going to get into how comparable they are or whatever, but you look at Kirk Cousins, for example, and you set aside that the Falcons are largely run by idiots, then you're going to come closer to the range and the term of what Russ's next contract might be, meaning you're not going to go 5 years, 6 years, or something crazy like that. The Steelers they're not that team. Remember, they were going near the end of Ben Roethlisberger's career on a year-by-year basis. Now, does that mean that Russ could leave? Sure, if Russ was in it purely for the greatest amount of guaranteed dollars. Yeah, somebody somewhere would offer him more than the Steelers. Not because they don't have it, but just because, again, they'd be taking a risk that isn't all that smart. But one thing you have to remember about Russ is that he just came from a very bad situation, meaning personally, in Denver. Sean Payton did not treat him well. A lot of his teammates didn't treat him well. In turn, the city of Denver and some of their fans didn't treat him well. So he went from the high of everything that he'd become in Seattle to the low of what he became in Denver. Denver ponies up $85 million, the highest in NFL history, in cap hit just for him to go away. And he comes to Pittsburgh and he's happy. There's one thing I don't have to wonder about Russ in being around him, and that's whether or not he's happy. He's been that from day one, and I'm not talking about day one of the season. I'm talking about how he's fit in here. He loves it here. He loves this head coach. He loves this coordinator. He loves his teammates, and he loves being loved. And so far, Pittsburgh has loved him in the way that, only Pittsburgh can when it comes to the Steelers. I would, and this is nothing other than conjecture on my part, so don't take it as any sort of reporting. This isn't stuff that the Steelers would be talking about this time of year, obviously. I would see something in the range of a 3-year deal, and I would see it in that salary arc as well, and I would very much see Russ staying. I appreciate the question, Vic. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Steelers. Going to do another one of these tomorrow.